All right, shalom, shalom. I'm back again, Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad Barakatah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad Barakatah. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor due to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad. Secondly, I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and great millstone, who are ruling well. And shalom to the brothers pushing this word and sincerity and truth in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushad. And shalom to the few sisters as well, supporting the man, being humble, and supporting the man in the faith. Shoot, this lesson is dealing with the laws and faith. And we're just going to hop into it. This is Galatians 2 and 12. It says, "For before that certain came from James, I'm just reading from here. Before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision." Verse 13, "And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with the dissimulation. But when I saw that they walked not uprightly," this is Paul, when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, If thou being a Jew livest after the men of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews? We who are Jews by nature, and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahushua HaMashiach. Even we have believed in Yahushua HaMashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of HaMashiach, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified." And let me just go back to verse 12. All right. It says, "For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles." Okay, the Gentiles talking about the Israelite foreigners. They were Israelites. Okay, that was basically keeping the customs and the deeds of the other nations. Okay, which they was going off by doing. And but when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. Okay, so you got James, Cephas, and John. They was eating with the Gentiles. Back then the Gentiles were being looked down upon. Okay, James ate with the Gentiles, but when the circumcision Jews came, he separated himself. Fearing what the Jews, and the other brothers, might say or do to him, because they looked down on the Gentiles. As I say again, they were going off by keeping the customs and the things of the other nations. So James was being a hypocrite. All right. Let me read verse 13. It says, "And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation." Okay. Okay. It says, "But when I saw that they walked not uprightly," all right, he saw that they not. Peter saw they didn't. Salakia. When Paul saw they didn't walk uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, he said unto Peter before them all, you know. If thou being a Jew livest after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as the Jews? All right. Okay. Because Paul saw that, you know, James, Barnabas, and Peter and the other Jews were going off because they ate with the Gentiles. You know, they associated themselves with the Gentiles, you know. But when you read verse 14, you know, you read verse 14, it says, but when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, if thou being a Jew livest after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou to live? Basically, all right, bet. So here it is, you got Peter who living after the manner of the Gentiles, who was living after the manner of the Gentiles. Peter, you know, he was trying to push the law on the Gentiles, but therefore he was there. He was living after the manner of the Gentiles himself, meaning what? It was a faith thing, okay? You know, because, you know, Paul, you know, Peter, and the other Jews were not compelled, you know, to be justified by the works of the law, basically, but rather to be justified through faith, okay, as the Gentiles were. But, you know, Peter, who lived after the manner of the Gentiles through faith and not justified by the works of the law, sought to compel the Gentiles to live after the manner of the Jews, you know, so, which is basically, you know, by the works of the law. So he placed a burden on them to follow the law. So that's why Paul was getting at Peter. You know, he stepped to him. He's like, yo, you not basically, you being hypocritical. Like, you going by faith, but you trying to tell the Gentiles to keep the law. You know what I'm saying? Paul stepped to him. He was like, yo, that you going off, bro. You know what I'm saying? Straight like that. It is what it is. You know? So, that wasn't, you know, Paul had to step to that because it was not according to the truth of the gospel. Okay? It wasn't according to the truth. Because what's that? Romans. What's that? Romans. Romans. I think it's Romans. I think it's. It says Romans. It's Romans 3 and Romans 3 and 30. It says, seeing it is one most high, which shall justify the circumcision by faith, and the uncircumcision through faith. Verse 31, do we then make void the law through faith? Okay. Do we put away the law because we got faith now? You know what I'm saying? God forbid, meaning hell no, man. You know, don't you ever tell me no bullshit. Yeah, we established the law. Okay? That's plain and simple. Okay? Plain and simple. But the Gentiles, right, were not on that how you say it, that intensity or that level of faith. You know what I'm saying? You know, which is obviously they still had to keep the law. Okay? Because I just read it. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, meaning hell no. Yeah, we established the law. Okay? What's another scripture I can get? is Romans. It was Romans 14 and 5. Romans 14 and 5. It says, one man esteemeth one day above another, okay, and another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Right. So, that's what the faith, man. Because one man esteemeth one day above another, meaning, okay, he may keep the high holy days, the Passover, the Day of Atonement, the Sabbath, because that man has faith. You know what I'm saying? He's built up in the faith to keep those days. Every day is not the same. You know what I'm saying? And then you have says, and another esteemeth every day alike. They treat every day the same. Every day is just they just living their everyday life. It is what it is. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Okay? Okay? Also tell you in Matthew's 5th chapter that Yahweh Shah came on the scene, When he came on the scene, he didn't come to destroy the law, He didn't come to destroy it, but to fulfill it. All right? He was that ultimate sacrifice, man. All right? So basically, when you go back to, Galatians, you had Peter. This is the whole Peter and Paul conflict, or you know what I'm saying. People, they have conflict. Nah, Peter was getting rebuked, right? Because he was basically trying to push the law on Gentiles, who wasn't built up on the faith to keep the law. Period. All right. So Paul seen that. He was like, "Yo, you bugging, boy." You know what I'm saying? Don't you live after the men of the Gentiles? Meaning, don't you go by faith? Okay, because we weren't justified by the law. Okay, we're justified by faith. Okay, so Paul had to correct that. And he did. Let me get that other scripture for you. I think it's Matthew. So yeah, don't. These laws, statutes, commandments are still in effect. All right, you're supposed to keep them to your best ability. Don't be putting off the law. Okay, Yahweh Shah said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Period. All right. He didn't come to destroy the law, nor the prophets. Didn't come to, destroy but fulfill, which he did. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say all praises, glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and Shalom.